So another chance to cement a playoff spot goes begging. A point still might be enough, but at the moment, it doesn't feel like it. Hello everybody, it's Ian here once again from OUFC FanView, and it's time for another review of another Oxford United game. It's the final home game of the 23-24 season. It was live on Sky Sports. Oxford were at home to Stevenage. Just over a week ago, it seemed that Oxford had pretty much stamped their ticket into the League One playoffs, but that defeat on Tuesday night to Lincoln has blown the race wide open once again. But Oxford had a chance to secure a playoff spot again. They played before everybody else this weekend on Friday night against Stevenage. Never going to be an easy game against Stevenage, who kind of are out of the playoff. It took wins everyone else to lose and a massive goal swim for them to get into it, but they weren't going to rock up to the Kassam and roll over. It was never going to be easy. We were just hoping that Oxford could get the job done, and unfortunately they couldn't. Oxford had enough chances to win this game, but luck, fate, whatever you call it, just seemed to conspire against them, and we just have not got the job done. It still might be enough, but we have a nervy wait tomorrow or today, whenever you're watching this, for other results, because it finished on our final home game. Oxford United won, Stevenage won. And it is quite staggering how Oxford ended up only drawing this game, but it is a draw that we have. But we will go over everything. I'll go over the team news, I'll give my review of the game, and I'll give my final thoughts at the end of it for both sides. So please feel free to jump to any point of the video if you wish. But if you do that, the very least you can do is hit like on this video, because that does help me out a lot. And if you do like the content, consider subscribing. So after Tuesday night's defeat to Lincoln, I was expecting Oxford to make changes, but it is only 2 changes to that side. Importantly though, Cameron Brannagan does come back into midfield in place of Josh McEachran. It's a rare start, first start since August for Marcus Brown, who comes in instead of Owen Dale. There's still no Elliot Moore, which I think is really surprising, but that hip problem is just causing more problems than I thought it would do. But there's also no Josh McEachran and no Marcus McGuane on the bench either. Both of those guys picked up knocks after that Lincoln game and are not in the squad. Moving on to Stevenage now, and all the talk of Stevenage has been about Steve Evans, who abruptly jumped ship to Rotherham just a couple of days ago. But Steve Evans did do a wonderful job with Stevenage. They were staring the National League in the face when he took over, and he has taken them to the heights of League One, and pretty much all the way through the season they've been playoff and promotion contenders, and it's only idiots like me that tip them for the drop. But in the last few weeks, Stevenage's form has tailed away for the first time this season, and they've only won 1 of the last 10 games. Alex Revel is in temporary charge for tonight's game, and he made a lot of changes. There's only 6 players who kept their place from the last game. That was a 2-1 disappointing defeat to Burton last Saturday. Nathan Thompson, Aaron Presley, Elliot List, Finley Burns are all out, and Dan Butler is suspended. So a lot of players come in, including ex-Oxford striker Kane Hemmings, who is one of the 5 changes and starts up front alongside top scorer Jamie Reid. So it's all changed for Stevenage. Whether that'll be a good thing or a bad thing, it remains to be seen. So the early stages of this one were quite scrappy, and both sides were making some silly errors really in possession, making not a great watch. But after sort of the first 15 minutes or so, Oxford did grow into the game a little bit and created a couple of chances. The first decent move they put together, where they kept possession for quite a while, passing it from left to right, trying to probe an opening. Eventually it did create a shooting chance for Murphy. Murphy was quite far out, but it was a good strike from Murphy, but not for the first time. McGillivray was there to put the danger away. Just 4 minutes later, Oxford swung in their first corner, and it was Sam Long who seemed to have a free header at the back post but nodded it wide. I feel Long, looking back on it, should have done better from that chance, but at least Oxford were starting to get chances. Stevenage, we kind of knew how they were going to play, very direct, but they were always possible of creating flick-ons or creating pressure and getting those chances from second phases of play. Hemmings and Reid were ready to pounce on any mistakes. As well as that, Stevenage were very, very dangerous from set pieces and long throw-ins into the box. Oxford were in control of the game, but they weren't really peppering the goal or creating that many chances. But on 25 minutes, there's a massive talking point in this game, and Oxford should have had a penalty. McGillivray brings down Marcus Brown. Marcus Brown gets into the area, gets there ahead of the Stevenage keeper. The Stevenage keeper brings him down. The referee pondered on the decision and ended up only giving a corner. It was a real let-off for Stevenage. The linesman, I feel, could have helped him out as well. It's a real stonewaller. Oxford feeling aggrieved from that penalty that went against them in the Lincoln game, and then feeling this one also not going their way. And to make matters worse, just about 5 minutes later, Stevenage out of nothing take the lead. It's their first corner of the game, I think, and coming punches the first ball clear, but Stevenage do keep the ball alive on the right hand side, their left. But it was a fortunate ricochet that got Freeman into a bit of space. He fizzed in a low cross, and unfortunately for Sam Long at the near post, he had to get something on it, and it ends up somehow going into the top corner of the goal. Really unlucky for Oxford United. They have not defended badly in this game. This is a freak bit of bad luck. They haven't even had a shot, and they're 1-0 up. There were nervy moments for Oxford. Not Stevenage created shots on goal, because they certainly didn't, but they did have pressure, and as I said, they still did look dangerous when they were able to bomb the ball into the area, especially Pierre Gianni, who looked like the ball was just, it was like his head was a magnet, and the ball would find it every single time. So very nervy moments, and you're just starting to get a little bit frustrated. There's 40 minutes on the clock, and it was Oxford's best move for a while, and Murphy floated a ball in, and Harris headed a difficult chance wide, and we got into injury time at the end of the first half, and Oxford nearly got the equaliser right at the end of this first half. McGillivray making a wonderful save from a Brannagan free kick. Not only did he get down smartly to save it, but he parried it behind for a corner. But then from that corner, Marcus Brown, arriving in space in the middle of the penalty area, arrives, makes great connection with the shot. It whistles wide. You're thinking it's one of those ones that's gone in, but it ends up hitting the fence behind the goal. And Brown should have done better. Looking from the replay from the other side, he should have got it on target. Even if he kind of mishits it, it probably would have ended up going into the goal. But so we go in 1-0 down at half time, and we're all kind of scratching our heads wondering how that is the case. Stevenage get the goal through an own goal, and it's a bit of a freak, and they don't really deserve to be in the lead. Oxford have had some chances, probably not enough, but they have been denied that stonewall penalty. It's a bit of a nightmare scenario for Oxford, who haven't really got Brown and Murphy really motoring into the game as yet. Stevenage, the longer this goes at 1-0, they're just going to defend deeper and defend for their lives, and we struggled to break down Lincoln on Tuesday. Can we do it? Can we get a goal at least in the second half? And Oxford did start the second half strongly. There was a lot of intent there from the Oxford United players, and the fans certainly appreciate it. Another shout for a penalty, this time against Pierre Gianni for handball. I think that one was harsh, and I don't think it should have been given. But Finn Stevens forced McGillivray into another decent save with a good effort from distance. 51 minutes, Oxford still keeping the pressure on. Greg Lee getting forward more and more the more the half went on. He played it into Harris on the edge of the box. Him and Rodriguez tried to work an opening, and Rodriguez could only poke the ball straight to the goalkeeper. But Oxford kept going, and they kept pushing, and the decisive moment came. Just when you're thinking nothing is going to go our way again, Oxford this time do get a bit of luck. Pierre Gianni, who was magnificent at the back for Stevenage, made his first mistake of the game. A bouncing ball went over his head, and it allowed Rodriguez to get the other side of him. Pierre Gianni judged to have brought Rodriguez down in the penalty area. It looked a very harsh decision. Is the referee evening it up for a decision he got wrong in the first half? Maybe. But I tell you what, we'll bloody take it. It's Brannagan. He makes no mistake. Sends the goalie the wrong way. It's 1-1. And you're hoping Oxford could kick on now, and they certainly did try all they could do to try and get this second goal. Pierre Gianni back to his brilliant best. A sublime ball over the top gets Murphy away, and he tries to slide it across to Mark Harris, who's unmarked in the centre, but Piergianni sticks out a leg to make a vital block. So we got to about 70 minutes, and at that point, Stevenage, from that point till the end of the game, probably looked the most adventurous and the most likely to get a goal than they did in the whole game. Oxford were pushing to try and get back into the game, and so Stevens and Lee were pushing up higher, and every time they gave the ball away, it did meant Stevenage were finding more space, and they were starting to get a few chances, but chances were hard to come by for either side. But Oxford had a great chance on the break, and Oxford looked dangerous when they could get Josh Murphy over the top, and this is what happened here. It came from an Oxford United corner. I think it's Harris who got Murphy away. That could have been a better ball to Murphy, but Murphy was still in on goal. He tries to slide it past McGillivray, but he sticks out a big leg at the near post to keep it away. I mean, what can Oxford do more to get this second goal? But you just always worried that Stevenage might pick our pocket and get something, and the nearest they came was on 81 minutes. Hemmings, for the first time in the game, got in behind on the left-hand side. He was quite wide, but he beat Cumming to the ball. Cumming was committed. Hemmings got there before him. He couldn't get a shot on target, but he is able to square it back across goal. Sam Long does well to clear the danger, but the rebound comes in from Stevenage, and it's pinball, and Oxford just about get it behind for a corner. I did actually think Stevenage were ending the game the stronger of the two sides, but as it sort of ticked over into the final 5 minutes in injury time, Oxford had another little head of steam, desperately trying to get this second goal, but the chances just did not fall our way. We couldn't really create any clear-cut openings. There was a lovely cross by Murphy at the end, and it was just a little bit too high and a little bit too pacey for Harris, and he could only head it over the top. We had corners, we had throw-ins, we had pressure, but we just could not get that second goal. It wasn't for the lack of trying, but it finishes 1-1, and it leaves the playoff picture out of our hands, and we're asking for other clubs to do us a favour. Brings me to my final thoughts, and let's start with Stevenage. And I kind of got what I expected from Stevenage today. I thought Stevenage would be a bit more adventurous. I was surprised they were quite so direct. I thought they would try and play a little bit more. I thought they'd try and get down the wings a little bit more and attack our right-hand side and try and get the ball into Reed a little bit more and maybe even press a little bit more. But they really didn't seem interested in doing any of those things. They were quite content to just banging balls forward and living on scraps up front and then just trying to get something from a set piece. And hey, it worked from them. It worked for them, really, didn't it? Oxford just couldn't get that second goal. Stevenage with a big bit of luck, really, with their goal. They didn't look like scoring too many times today. It's got to be said. What do they have? 2 shots on goal, 1 on target, I think, and they ended up getting a goal and taking a point home. So look, it's a very solid, hard-working Stevenage side, and at the moment the things aren't going for them in front of goal or from an attacking point of view, but they at least can fall back on the fact that they're resolute and they're hard to beat, and they certainly were that today. McGillivray was excellent in goal, Piergianni superb at the back, and and Oxford just could not get that second goal. But well done to Stevenage. It's been a fine season for you guys. Let me know if there's any Stevenage fans watching this, what you thought of the game. Let me know who you hope to have as a new manager for next season, and what are your hopes for next season. Is it going to be a little bit of worry that it could be second season syndrome and you might tail off a little bit now Evans has gone, or are you thinking you might strengthen and go again with another playoff push? And that brings me on to Oxford, and I'm frustrated, I'm annoyed, but I feel they gave it a really good go tonight. I really did. I don't think they were great in the first half, but I still think they created chances. Overall in the game, we had so many chances to score. So many good saves by the goalkeeper. Wasteful chances as well for Oxford, where they could have done better. But we were on the front foot for the majority of the game. We really were. We were pushing to get the goals, pushing to get the second goals. In recent weeks, even up to last Saturday, we've been pretty clinical and pretty good in front of goal in the last 4 or 5 games. But just annoyingly and frustratingly, that's all seemed to just dry up in the last 2 games. It's annoying that we have this bloody Sky curse that we can't seem to get away of. And obviously, obviously that fixture congestion maybe didn't help as well, that we're playing a day earlier than maybe we could have done, and if we'd had another day's rest, maybe we would have been fresher to go and get that second goal. But we'll never know now. I struggle to really point any blame at Des Buckingham. I really struggle to point any blame at any of the players out there. I thought they gave it a go, they gave it a shift, and by and large, everyone played well. It was a freak goal. Should have had a penalty. We got a slightly lucky one in the second half to even that out. And really, really on another day, Oxford would have gone on to win this. But we haven't. And it's become a situation where it's out of our hands now for the playoffs. It still might be good enough to get in the playoffs. There's still twists and turns that might happen. Cheltenham aren't going to roll over and die against Lincoln tomorrow, but you'd still expect Lincoln to win that one. And you're kind of hoping Oxford Pompey still might do us a favour on the final day, because Lincoln are home, I think, to Portsmouth on the final day of the season. You're really hoping the Pompey players haven't just given up by that point, but they may well have done. And who knows, we still might be able to get above Barnsley. If they drop points to Blackpool, it still could open the door to get above them as well. So all we know is at the moment, we're in a situation where we've got to go to Exeter and win the game. We've got to go to Exeter and win the game. And you would think with a week off and a week's rest, you'd think those Oxford players will have enough in the legs to go there and put in a bloody good account of themselves. And you'd think if we put in a similar effort to what we did today, the very least is we could win. We should win that game, and then we will see where we end up. I get it. People are going to be frustrated and annoyed, and there's knee-jerk reaction, and there's going to be, oh, we could have done this, we could have done that, we should have done this, we should have done that. But you can't tell me that the players didn't try, and you can't tell me the players didn't create chances and give it a bloody good go to try and win the game tonight. You just can't. I just can't accept that if anyone says they didn't, because they did. It just didn't go our way, and we were unfortunate, certainly with the freak goal that we conceded. And we were unfortunate against Lincoln as well, let's be fair, with a pretty soft penalty that went against us. But we just have to hope things go our way, and things still might go our way, Oxford fans. Let me know down in the comments, and we just have to have fingers crossed that we still might be able to get into the playoffs. I know it's incredibly disappointing and incredibly deflating, and it seemed like it was all going to plan a week ago, and then these last two games have kicked us in the teeth a little bit. But we'll be back to do, well, I'll be back to do a review of the final game of the season. Hopefully not the final game of the regular season against Exeter next weekend. And fingers crossed it all works out. That's all we can do. See you next week.